What's up, Skong Gang? My name is Primacon and I have a pile of hot steaming Silksong discussion today. That's right, you can mark your calendars as Christmas today because we got a lot of interesting stuff happening in the gaming community over the past 24 hours, including the very first official mention of the Switch 2, as the community calls it, by Nintendo, a new Nintendo Direct coming in June, and Hades 2, the banger, the GOAT, just shadow dropped yesterday. So some really cool stuff, and I want to talk about Silksong and what all this means for Silksong release. Also, if you're new to this channel, you'll find that this channel is a fucking goldmine for Silksong. We do everything from Silksong hype to cope to release speculation to lore videos, including finding out when your dad's coming back after all those years. So if you're interested in learning about Silksong and your dad, you can subscribe to the channel. It supports me, it supports you, it supports the Skong. So alright, grab your morning coffee, grab your partner even, make them sit with you too so that they can be aware of the Skong, get the sacred knowledge, and let's jump into it. And we're jumping into it by talking about the big Italian red elephant in the room, my boy Nintendo. Actually, Nintendo isn't my boy, they're up right there with the most evil company in the world. But my boy Nintendo just had their first mention of the successor to the Switch, or as the community calls it, the Switch 2, officially in the most casual way possible in the form of a random fucking tweet. So they announced two things. The first thing was that there's gonna be a Nintendo Direct in June. And then before everybody started going crazy that holy shit, this is it for the Switch 2, because everyone's been anticipating that for like the whole year at this point, Nintendo did something unthinkable and they put people's hype in check and let them know that we won't be getting a Switch 2 announcement in June. We will get it announced in this fiscal year, which if anyone of you is unfamiliar with that fucking lingo, it basically means before March 2025, we will have an official announcement of the Nintendo Switch. And if you want to go by the track record of Nintendo's history when it comes to them announcing a console and releasing the console, October 2026 is when the Nintendo Switch was first revealed to the public, like in its fucking full glory, and March 2017 is when the console came out. So that's November, December, January, February, March, April. So that's only about 5 months since the announcement to the actual launch of the console. And I feel like it'll be the same for the Nintendo Switch. If it's getting announced in early 2025, it'll definitely come out by mid to late 2025 at the most. I know some people are speculating the Switch will be launching in 2026. I just don't see that to be the case. But regardless, a lot of Silksong fans are worried. My Silksong brethrens are in a shamble because they think that Silksong will for some reason be delayed because of this announcement. And I just want to debunk that whole thing because it is the most wildest, stupidest argument out there. Let's debunk this whole theory point by point, okay? Number one, people like to say that Nintendo Switch has such a big chunk of the community, the Hollow Knight community, and Silksong has been announced to be coming on Nintendo Switch on day 1. A lot of people think that because of that, Team Cherry would want to wait for Switch 2 to launch their game, but that makes no sense. Just because a new console is coming out doesn't mean everyone goes out and buys it. New consoles are expensive, and especially in this economy, people are struggling a lot to make their ends meet. Even after the PlayStation and the new Xbox being in market in stock for years now, after the whole COVID stock supply thing happened, not many people have the new consoles at all, which is why Silksong is still launching for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. In fact, the only reason it's coming out to the newer generation of consoles like PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X is because those consoles are backwards compatible and they can easily run the same version as a PlayStation 4. A lot of video games do that for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. They just use the new hardware capabilities to run the older generation just a little bit better. And I believe that'll be the same for Silksong. These people are already saying that Silksong has such a big following on the Switch, which means a lot of people have the Switch. Why the hell would it not launch on Switch? Why would they do it a Switch 2 launch? Because who knows how the Switch 2 is gonna work. My prediction for Switch 2 is because we're in the era and generation of backwards compatibility, Nintendo Switch 2 will probably be backwards compatible with at least the Switch games. Nintendo Switch is by far the biggest Nintendo home console to ever be sold. It's 140 million units sold by March 2024, which is already more than the fucking Wii, which was already a behemoth. While yes, it's still behind the Nintendo DS, which falls into the category of handheld consoles, it still comes as the third biggest selling console in the world ever, followed by the DS and PlayStation 2. So many people have the Switch, so many people have a lot of Switch library, and we're in the era of backwards compatibility, and I know Nintendo has been notorious for not having their old lineup available on Switch. A lot of people like to shit on Nintendo for this, rightfully so, because a lot of legacy games, there's no genuine way to play those games other than pirate them, because Nintendo doesn't let you have them legally on their console. And I really hope Nintendo addresses this going forward with their next release of their console, whether it's gonna be the Switch 2 or they go with a different naming category, whatever. But why would Team Cherry put their eggs in that basket? Why would they even care about the Switch 2 launch? If anything, when the Switch 2 comes out, and if it's not backwards compatible, Team Cherry will probably port Silksong to Switch 2 at a later date. But to say that Silksong is being delayed or held back to be a launch title for Switch 2, I feel like people who say that are just very uninformed about the general gaming community, and they live in a really closed off Silksong bubble. First of all, Silksong is not that important to a general audience. If Nintendo is holding back any games, they're holding back things like the next Mario game or the next Zelda game. First party console games is why the general audience buys these consoles. Nintendo fans are not buying the Switch 2 for Silksong. I know it's really tough to believe that Silksong isn't the second coming of Jesus, but in the wider gaming community, Silksong isn't the end and be all of everything. It wasn't even the most wishlist game on Steam. Fuck, Hades 2 was more wishlisted than Silksong. And we'll get to the whole Hades 2 discussion in a bit, because Hades 2 just shadow dropped, and I believe that's a real eye-opener for when Silksong will come out. But if you look at these companies asking their fans what they're expecting for in their next showcase or their next console lineup or whatever, you rarely see a Silksong fan in that. People are giving different game suggestions and are hyped for different things when it comes to Sony and Xbox and Nintendo. Guys, Silksong is just an indie game. Team Cherry is just an indie developer. They just want to put a good game out for their fans. You definitely shouldn't get so caught up in a Silksong bubble that you don't look outside the box and see what the general gaming audience is thinking and feeling. And I feel like a lot of this has to do with how many people just spam Skong in any live showcase, but we're just a very loud community. And lately Silksong fans have been getting more toxic than ever. And I'm a big Silksong fanboy. I'm the biggest fanboy there is, the biggest provider of Silksong Cope. My channel is pure evidence for it. But even I am self-aware enough that Silksong isn't gonna be on the same level as Grand Theft Auto 6 or Elder Scrolls 6 or the next Mario lineup or the next Zelda game. Or when it comes to Sony, the new Wolverine game that's coming out, or whatever the next God of War is gonna be. These big budget first party games is what people buy these new consoles for. So to end my Switch 2 point for Silksong, basically I really highly doubt that Silksong's release will have anything to do with Nintendo Switch 2. If anything, the game might get a port for the Switch 2 a little bit after the game comes out, because I genuinely believe that we'll get Silksong before we get Switch 2, and I'll get into that later. But I just don't want you guys to worry about the Switch 2 delaying Silksong in any shape or form. That's just not happening. The second thing to note from the Nintendo announcement is their June Direct. Now, of course, we're getting a lot of showcases and directs. In June, we have the Summer Game Fest, we have the Xbox Showcase on June 9th, and now we have a major Nintendo Direct that's going to announce every single lineup that's coming to Switch in the later half of 2024. But I would like to put a pin in that discussion right the fuck now. Hades 2, which was more wishlisted than Silksong and had a massive audience behind it, had a technical test out of nowhere, and right after that, they just shadow dropped their game in early access just like that. No showcases, no nothing, and a lot of people were speculating Hades 2 to make an appearance in Summer Game Fest because it's such a big title, especially after the technical test when the developer said that, yeah, in a month or so they'll be like having a launch on Steam. A lot of people paired that with Summer Game Fest coming up in a month or so, in less than a month, and they thought, oh yeah, it's definitely getting announced and shadow dropped on the fucking Summer Game Fest day. But no, they just did it because why the fuck not? They're an indie game. At the end of the day, they have a very passionate fan base. That's what indie games are all about. Yes, having them showcased in these major events can garnish a new audience, sure, but with games like Hades 2 and Silksong, where every media outlet, every one of these showcases are baiting these communities to watch their showcases anyway, these games have a massive following when it comes to the indie scene. Not as massive as to be tied to a console launch like the Switch 2, but definitely massive enough to have their own launch regardless of any of these showcases. Let's talk about the hype first, because I am very hyped for June. We are getting all these showcases, and of course I'm gonna make videos about it. Of course we're gonna get hyped and we're gonna twirl our shirts in the air, go wild with speculation, get all crazy up in here, watch all these showcases, spam Skong because that's what you do, even though I keep telling people not to do it, put on our clown makeups, be disappointed. That's all good fun and not going anywhere. But to be very realistic with you, here's what I think. more showcases doesn't mean anything. The game will come out when it's ready. Just because there's more showcases doesn't increase the chances of the game to be announced in that showcase or in that time frame. I see a lot of this on Reddit, especially where people are like, wow, so many showcases are coming up. That means Silksong has to be announced soon. How does that make any sense? What does more showcases have to do with Team Cherry and their development? These showcases are planned months and months in advance, guys. It's not like Team Cherry looks at it and be like, oh wow, all these showcases are coming up, we better announce our game in one of these showcases, because if it was to be a part of them, it would have been planned, signed, allotted a slot, all of that good stuff way in advance, guys. I am slowly inching towards thinking that Silksong will have its own launch. Team Cherry will probably not shadow drop the game, but more likely than not, it'll have just a release date trailer announcement on their YouTube page, followed by a blog post as they do. Hades 2 style, I think we'll get Silksong by Team Cherry, and honestly, that's not a bad news because of the recent ratings the game got and all of the hype surrounding the game. Let coming out and telling us to choose our champions carefully and that all these leaks and predictions have been wrong so far anyway. It could mean that Silksong might get a trailer ranging anywhere from today to the end of 2024, and I say that because I genuinely very firmly believe that Silksong will be coming out in 2024. It already had a planned launch in early 2023 and we are already a year past. Guys, in 3 days we are getting our first anniversary of the Hey Gang delay announcement by Let. We have come a long way since then. And 2024, we still have 7 full months left in this year. And the fact that we are not hearing anything from Team Cherry, other than the fact that they're still hard at work, like we're not hearing something like not to expect the game this year, kind of like how we heard last year not to expect the game in the first half of 2023, I feel like it's just a strong indication that the game will come out in 2024. And if Team Cherry does not tie the launch of Silksong to any of these showcases, that could mean that they could fucking drop the trailer today for all I know. We could very well get news in May or June. So that's just something the community should look out for. Now, let's talk about the actual showcases. If I was to put my tinfoil hat on and give you my speculation, I still think that the Xbox showcase is the best bet if Team Cherry did sign up with one of these events. Nintendo is such a closed off brand, and because of how busy Team Cherry has been with development, I don't think they will sign a deal with Nintendo. Because the Switch is in its last stage of life cycle, I think that everything that's going to be showcased in June is going to be utter garbage. We won't see any major lineup games in that showcase, probably very small third-party games coming to Nintendo Switch, a lot of ports and all that. I doubt Team Cherry will pair Silksong with that kind of showcase, so Nintendo Switch for me is gonna be at the bottom, like the Nintendo Direct, when it comes to Silksong potential announcement. On top of that is Summer Game Fest, of course, Jeff Keighley, Mossbag's uncle, I swear he'll sell his left testicle to get Silksong in his showcase, so maybe he reached out to Team Cherry and signed up a deal. That's very well a possibility, but Jeff Keighley has kind of been letting me down over these years with the fucking ad awards and whatnot, so I don't know. I'm not gonna put my eggs in the Summer Game Fest basket. I still believe that Game Pass Xbox is the biggest bet when it comes to Silksong signing a deal with a company, because not only did Xbox announce the last announcement for Silksong, but a lot of people, by the way, were in my comments saying, why the fuck are you expecting Xbox out of all people to do a Silksong announcement? Why would it be Xbox? Like, because the last announcement was by Xbox? Hello, did you forget about that? And Xbox has been marketing Silksong as coming day one on Game Pass, so that's why I feel like if Team Cherry did sign a deal with any of these showcases, it'll be the Xbox, so that's something to look out for. But my number one prediction is that we're just gonna get a direct announcement from Team Cherry themselves. Maybe when Leth said that, he meant it quite literally, right? Lastly, I would just like to give a PSA to all my Hollow Knight Silksong fans. Guys, it's okay to get hyped about these showcases, but when Silksong doesn't get showcased in them, don't get so fucking personally offended. So many people attack everyone, man. After the ID Xbox showcase, the fucking subreddit was a cesspool. I put out a community post just asking what people think about Summer Game Fest and Xbox showcase, and if Silksong will be like announced in one of them, and people were so fucking pissy in the comments. It's like I insulted their fucking wife to their face, man. Just because Silksong didn't get announced in those showcases and you hyped yourself up so much and took it so fucking seriously, you're like so offended now that it didn't get showcased. It's just all for fun, man. All these hype and speculation is just fun and games. It's a fucking video game. If you're getting so offended by it, go touch grass. Alright, play Hades 2. That game is awesome. It just came out. It's fucking amazing. But that is what I think. What do you guys think? Please let me know in the comments. This is honestly really exciting. Hyped to see what Team Cherry is cooking up. Are we gonna get a release trailer from Team Cherry directly? Are we gonna get something in June with all these showcases? Or do you genuinely believe that Silksong is being delayed because of the Switch 2? Let me know down below. This is Primacon signing out.